Dear listeners, welcome to the ASEF podcast. The American Slovenian Education Foundation, ASEF, is an organization that enhances American and Slovenian education activities and also unites Slovenian scholars, students, and entrepreneurs around the globe. My name is Sara Ermins, and I am ASEF Fellow 2020. I will be the host of this ASEF podcast section. In this section, we will meet well-respected Slovenian leaders who will share insights on their core values, lessons learned throughout their career, and their vision regarding their particular field of expertise. Today, we are thrilled to welcome one of the most successful Slovenian physicists, Mr. Pleško. Mr. Pleško had completed his PhD in physics at the age of 25 at the University of Ljubljana. As a researcher at the Jožef Stefan Institute, the leading Slovenian research institution, he later founded a global company called Cosylab. The company has become one of the leading control system providers worldwide, providing control systems for nuclear accelerators, optical and radio telescopes, fusion reactors, and cancer therapy systems. In addition, he has been a member of the management boards of multiple organizations, companies, and faculties. He is also president of the Slovenian Academy of Engineering. Mr. Pleško, thank you very much for accepting our invitation.
Absolutely pleasure.
You have completed PhD at the age of 25. How would you describe your decade between your 20s and 30s? How do you recall the beginnings of Cosylab?
Actually, I established Cosylab when I was 40 years old. So, it took me still quite a while from my PhD to the company. I would say, I went through probably normal phases that many people go. First, I wanted to do basic science. I was, fascinated. I did particle physics. I wanted to find new particles or new physics and stuff like that. And then after a while, I found out that, okay, science is good. But the work you do in science is actually not science itself. I mean, especially, I would say, at least for physics, the first 5% is physics when you think about what you want to do. And the last 5% is physics when you analyze the results. But of course, in between is all hard work. And actually, the hard work is like any other work. You have to write programs, you have to do engineering, you have to, use the screwdriver and put things together. And then these groups becoming bigger and bigger, especially in particle physics, the biggest experiments, there are thousands of people. And so I thought myself, do I really want to be just one little ant in the whole system? And maybe, if I work hard 20 years, I may become, a leader or something if I have luck. But isn't it better, just to do the same work, do it in industry and get paid better than I would get paid in science? And so I was slowly drifting away, from thinking a career in science into a career in business. However, as luck has it, there was an opportunity for me to start working on a particle accelerator that was just about to be designed and built in Trieste, near Slovenia. And I was thinking of maybe, getting a job in industry abroad. My girlfriend at that time, my wife now, and we are together married for over 30 years. So apparently it worked out. We found a good compromise. I wanted to work abroad. She wanted to live in Slovenia. So what we did is we moved to Sežana, which is, just a little village or town at the border. So we lived in Slovenia, what she wanted, but I was commuting every day across the border to Trieste to work on this accelerator. So that was maybe one of the first compromises that we did, and many others afterwards. And as I say, we still live together. And we still love each other, actually.
It is amazing to hear that, and congratulations. How did Cosylab develop during its growth? What do you consider were the most relevant milestones?
Right. So first of all, I think this is very important for everybody. Normally, a person becomes an entrepreneur after 10 or 20 years in a certain business. when she or he finds out the rules of the business, the principles of the business, what the market wants, what the market doesn't want, and suddenly sees, hey, there is a niche, there is a need in the market that is not met, and maybe I could make the company and meet this need. But that means you have to work in this market for a long time, and the same happened for me. So, after my PhD, I was working 15 years in science, not exactly in very fundamental science. I worked with accelerators, so I was designing and building accelerators. And in the 90s, 95 and so, I was working at the Josef Stefan Institute, and we made a collaboration between the Josef Stefan Institute and the Forschungszentrum Karlsruhe. In Karlsruhe, apparently, now it's called KIT, Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. They were building another accelerator, and because of my knowledge from the accelerator in Trieste, they wanted to hire me as a deputy project leader. But again, I would have had to move to Germany. And at that time, even, our kids were coming. So again, we had the same point. We said, hey, why don't we do it like this? Instead of me moving to Germany, let's make a collaboration between the institute in Germany and the Institute Josef Stefan in Ljubljana. And we can do a lot of things here in Ljubljana. The German Institute would pay us the equivalent of our salaries. And so, we would have both things, an interesting project abroad again, and work in Slovenia. When I made this deal with the Germans, I was very proud. I came to the institute and said, look, guys, I have found a very good project. And then, of course, all the colleagues says, yeah, I don't have time. I'm very busy with something else. Oh, that's boring. I don't want to work on that. So suddenly I had a contract, which was quite large at that time, 700,000 Deutschmark. Maybe now it sounds small, but at that time for me, it was a very big thing. And a promise to do something. I didn't have the people. So I said, okay, look, I have to find the people. And I thought, well, when I was a student, if somebody had given me such a project, I would join it right away. So I was looking for students who might be interested in that. And actually, this is what worked. So I found 1, 2, 3, 4 students, who said, oh, well, that's an interesting project. I want to work on that. And of course, then they brought their own friends, their own colleagues. And so we built a team of students. And we actually did this software for this accelerator in Germany only with students. So students plus myself. And then when we finished, or even before we finished, some of the students already graduated. They got a job elsewhere. Even I helped them to find a job. And then I said to myself, well, isn't this stupid? I train these people, I teach them, and then I even help them to leave. These are great people, very clever people. They do a good job. Would it be nice if they would stay with me? And I went to the lab director, Josef Stefan director, and said, look, I have a couple of great guys, and we have some interesting things. He says, look, Mark, I can give you one PhD student, but that's about it. I cannot give you more than that. I mean, there are rules, there are limitations, there are budgets. And I said, hey, but we could even earn money with that. And he said, well, if you think you can make money, then be free. There is a technology park across the street. The Josef Stefan is a founding member of the Ljubljana Technology Park. Go there and establish the company. So maybe he was just bluffing, maybe he was calling my bluff. And I said, okay, let's do it. Let's try it. And so we said, let's start the company. So I talked to the students. I asked them, are you willing to work, for no money for the first half year before we earn some money? With the students, for them it was easy. It's like Hotel Mama. So that was so they had food and sleep for free because they were students. They didn't pay any taxes. They were health insured automatically. So we could start with very little money, pay them out through student. How is it called? This studentski service in Slovenian. This student payments or student work. And at that time it was even you could pay more. Now it's quite limited because people obviously exaggerated and misused this system, but at that time it was still possible. And so we started, and I told everybody, look, we have to work. We will find some contracts, and when we get the first money, then with this first money, we buy ourselves laptops, we pay ourselves a little salary, and then we start working seriously. And this is how it worked. And we established a company in November 2001. In December 2001, we went to the United States to a conference for accelerators, for software for accelerators. Of course, I know many people there. And so I went to all my friends and said, hey, do you know what? We established a company. Do you have any work for us? And then some people were laughing, some people said, oh, Mark, it's never going to work. You're crazy. All these things are done by the lab people themselves. You will never make money. Some people said, oh, yeah, we have a new project, and I have some budget free at the end of the year. I could give you like 50,000 euros. Somebody gave me 10,000, to the company. He said, I can give you 10,000 Swiss francs to make a little prototype. American guy said, well, there is a software that is open source, but we would like to fix this software. I have a budget of $25,000. What could you do for this money? And then a British guy said, well, we have a new project. I have £40,000 free. So he said, actually, I pay you this to improve the other features that you can't do with the 20,000. And so we started a little bit. So, piece by piece. And actually, the first year was already profitable because we didn't spend much. So that's how it started.
Cosylab is currently investing in proton therapy, which could provide enhanced treatment for cancer patients. How do you envision could proton therapy be introduced in Slovenia? Is there potential to develop an advanced cancer research and treatment center in Slovenia?
Slovenia is very good on cancer, actually. We have the Oncology Institute of Ljubljana. Many people mix it up. They think it's part of the clinical center because it's located at the same place. But it's completely independent institution. It's called Oncology Institute of Ljubljana. And they have worked on cancer treatment since a long time. They have now, I think, 8 or 9 or even 10 what is called LINAC. These are very complex machines that irradiate the patients with gamma rays to kill the cancer. They, of course, do the classical things like surgery and chemotherapy. So, yes, they have a lot of knowledge to treat cancer. Actually, that was a nice coincidence. They have been thinking about proton therapy for quite some while. We, on the other hand, we came into proton therapy through our work on accelerators. And we thought, hey, if we can do proton therapy, if we can do software for proton therapy, I have to be precise here, for other companies, why don't we help Slovenia to get such a proton therapy machine from these companies? So basically, we could talk to our customers and convince them, hey, would you be willing, to, of course, sell such a system in Slovenia? And then at some point, we met the people from the Oncology Institute and we learned, hey, we actually have a critical mass of knowledge in Slovenia. The Oncology Institute knows how to treat patients. The Josef Stefan Institute and the University of Ljubljana and also the Oncology Institute and a few other institutions together have a program group that is called medical physics. And this medical physics does a lot of calculations of radiation in the human body. So they calculate actually, they have theories and models how this radiation will actually kill cancer cells. And of course, Cosylab is a company that is industrially working on proton therapy. So we said, hey, let's pull the forces together, let's join the forces, and let's start advertising proton therapy in Slovenia. Of course, at the end of the day, you still need money. It's not that we would build a proton therapy machine. We have the knowledge to understand how it has to be built, from whom to buy, and then to operate it. I mean, we all together. And right now, actually, we are in this phase. We made a proposal to our government, and now we're seeing what the government will say. It's still, such a system is expensive. We're talking about 50, maybe even 70 million euros, which includes, of course, the building. Usually the building is almost one of the most expensive items because the building has to be large enough so that the proton therapy machine can be hosted there. Then the walls have to be thick because of radiation protection and many other rules. But anyway, here we are. So, keep your fingers crossed. Maybe we'll start working on it next year.
Approximately 2 years ago, the pandemic took over the world. How has the pandemic affected Cosylab? What are the positive and negative sides of such crisis, in your opinion? I've heard that you are happy that you don't have to travel so much anymore.
First of all, let's be a little bit philosophical. The pandemic is only in our heads. The pandemic is, of course, real. The COVID is real and it affects people. But it depends on us how we cope with it. And if we have fear, if we panic, then of course it will affect us strongly. If we take this just as a fact of life, hey, you have to deal with facts of life. It starts raining. Did we make a big fuss out of rain? No, we invented umbrellas. We invented rubber boots. And so we can walk in the rain. And the same thing is here. We have to adapt, obviously, to the pandemic, but we should not be strongly affected. So this is what happened. Okay, Cosylab was lucky. We are not a restaurant. Obviously, restaurants are affected or hairdressers are affected. We develop software. You can develop software at home or in the office in front of a computer. So basically, Cosylab was almost not affected by COVID. We didn't profit from COVID, but we didn't also lose with COVID. And one thing, yes, you mentioned that, and I think this is important. COVID, everybody says that, accelerated digitalization and video conferences and virtual presence. In 2 years we did things we wouldn't have done probably in 10 years. And I remember there were people like in America who said, "Hey, Mark, you have to come over. We have to talk." And now I just send them an email. "Hey, I send you a Zoom link. Can we talk tomorrow?" "Yeah, sure, let's talk." Of course, it's not exactly the same. Physical presence still is important. We human beings, we have a lizard brain, if you want. It's a result of evolution or God, depends, whatever you prefer. But we need human presence. We have to judge. It's much easier to judge the honest or not honest intentions of other people if you see them, if you have dinner with them, if you talk about this and that, chit chat, which over Zoom is of course much more difficult. But keeping relations with the people you already know and trust, the people you already work with, this Zoom, Teams, whatever, is perfect. And of course, I was traveling a lot before. I had 110 flights in 2019. And I really don't want to increase my carbon footprint, but I just had to do things in order to reduce the carbon footprint later. But in the last 2 years I was actually probably carbon not neutral but even positive.
And speaking about the adjustment, where do you see Cosylab in 10 years? Is there any potential for acquisition, or are you more inclined to merger with another company? Were there actually any proposals in the past, or maybe there are any currently going on negotiations that you can publicly talk about?
You mean like that somebody would acquire Cosylab or that Cosylab would acquire others?
Both. I would like to know, what would you prefer?
As I see Cosylab in 10 years, of course, never say never. So maybe, if somebody comes with an undecent proposal and they say, "Look, I give you so much money because I want to buy Cosylab because I like it so much," maybe in that case I would say, "Okay, look, good, then just do it." But the dear, I think, of Cosylab is that, we've worked so hard in the last 20 years. We've grown so far. Now we have 300 people. Now we are actually just starting to scrape, the ceiling. So we are now talking with institutions like Harvard Medical School. Apart from Ljubljana Medical School, we talk also to Harvard Medical School. We talk to Mayo Clinic. We talk to ETH Zurich. So to and many other important hospitals and institutes. So now we think is the right time to develop the next generation of radiotherapy, of particle therapy, the better software for that. And it's going to take us 10 years if we want to really reach, the goals and the visions that we have set to ourselves. Of course, for very big dreams, you need a lot of money. You need very good partners. So it may well happen that maybe we would join forces with somebody. So when you ask merger, hey, that could be a possibility. For example, we could find, let's say that we want to improve healthcare in, let's say developing countries or not so developed countries like maybe India. Huge countries have a lot of money, but also a lot of poor people, a lot of hospitals with missing experts. So if we want to go to India or I don't know, to Arabic countries or Brazil, of course we need a local partner. We cannot do it alone. So in that case, it may be meaningful to either make a joint venture in, let's say, India together with a local partner, or even that to see that, hey, it makes more sense that we merge with somebody. For example, they would have hospitals, we have the software, so let's merge together and do something. But of course, there are many possibilities at this point in time. I think we still should grow Cosylab also for one other reason, that it's easy to build a company and then sell it to somebody and enjoy life maybe or retire somewhere. But isn't it a bigger challenge, and I'm all in for challenges, to build a top world-class number one company in Slovenia? Grow it in Slovenia to a number of thousand people or even more people. How many really big successful companies do we have in Slovenia? We have Krka, okay, Lek we have, but it was sold. Still, it's I think I consider Lek Novartis our company because so much research is being done there. But let's try to do the same with Cosylab.
I see. I'm more than happy to hear that you are willing to keep Cosylab in Slovenia. As a business angel, you also invest in other projects not related to Cosylab. What kind of ideas do you personally support as an investor? Are there particular core values or traits that you seek from entrepreneurs?
First of all, I'm not really an investor. I'm what is called a business angel. And this is basically a person that, throws money through the window or helps young people to do something. But so far, all the money I have invested, no return yet. There are a few investments which I did, which hopefully will return some money. But the purpose is not to, invest money to get richer. I consider myself rich enough. I have a beautiful wife, we are old, but she's still beautiful. I love her. I have two well-educated kids, probably about your age or something like this. They are very good students. They out of the house, but they're doing their things. They still love me. We still play together when they visit me. I have a nice house on the cars, not a big one, but a nice old house with nice garden around. I have a dog, a cat, and a few chicken. So I'm infinite rich because I have more money I get more money in that I spend it. Okay. So I think this is important. And so what I really do is I try to help people that are at the stage where I was 20 years ago. People who, are ambitious, who have ideas, who want to do something. And I want to help them not really with money, but I want to help them also with advice, with direction. Of course, it's like playing poker. You can play poker with beans or you can play poker with real money. And the thrill is, of course, if you put your real money in there, not with beans. With beans, you can play, you can bluff, and if you lose, you don't care. With real money, you're forced a little bit to take it more seriously. So this is what I do. And now this, in a way, already answers your question. So where do I invest? I invest where I can contribute to the story. I don't invest and then forget about it. I actually, usually when I invest, I also ask the people if I can be on the board. I don't have to be on the board as a full board member. Many times I'm what you can call honorary board member, or let's say, well, not honorary sounds great, but the reality is that they have a board. I'm not part of the board, but I am always invited to participate to the board. And of course, when I'm there, I want to make my comments, I give advice, I listen, I learn, I teach. So this is, so really being there together in these projects, in these endeavors. This is what I like, and it's great because actually there were a couple of things that I learned through investing, which then I could use in my own company.
I can only agree with everything that you have said, and I think that such mentality is worth all the respect out there. However, as we are slowly approaching our time limit for this episode, let me ask you about your best advice for young professionals who have just entered their career.
I could give you a lot of advices, and I'm an old guy, and old people like to give a lot of clever advice. And by the way, just to point this out, when my father gave me advice, I didn't believe him. I thought I know what has to be done. Now I realize he was right, and I give advice, and I know that young people will ignore my advice as much as in the same way as I ignored my father's advice. But anyway, one piece of advice I think that is very, very important is you are young, you are ambitious, you want to change the world, or at least you want to make your mark in the universe. Do it. Follow your dreams. But don't forget what the real purpose of life is. I think this is important. It's not a career and it's not money. You have to find the right balance between work, family, friends, and your own life. And then you will find happiness.
That's such a wonderful conclusion of this episode. Mr. Pleško, thank you very much for joining us today. We wish you lots of professional and personal success in the future.
Oh, and I wish you much more.
Also, many thanks to you, dear listeners. You are kindly invited to listen to the following episode, where we will discuss cancer research with 3 prominent researchers from the ASEF community.